thanks for joining me. I'm Anushka. Today I wanted to talk to you about this transit that we're currently experiencing of Jupiter moving through Scorpio, and I just wanted to riff about it really and talk about, what it means for us collectively as individuals, and also throw in some of my own personal experience so that maybe you can see similar patterns or kind of identify what it could mean for you in your own life. So this is, to me, a really, really exciting transit because it's preparing us for Jupiter moving into Sagittarius, where we could see a lot of blessings. I think a lot of us will see a lot of growth and a lot of dreams coming true, especially with Saturn there in Capricorn, in his own home sign, where he's happy and where he can really manifest. And we're able to, I think the combination of Jupiter in Sagittarius, Saturn in Capricorn at the end of this year, which we will get at the end of this year, is really going to bring manifestational ability to a whole other level. Okay, so what is Jupiter? Jupiter essentially is about expansion. He's about abundance. He's about growth. He's about learning and optimism and travel and adventure. He's about excess. He's the largest planet in our solar system. And then we have Scorpio, and Scorpio goes deep. Scorpio is that, it's the deepest of the signs, and it's really about what is hidden, what we don't want to look at quite often, what we project onto others. There can be a lot of projection involved with Pluto, who rules Scorpio. It's about addictions, it's about taboo things, it's about psychology, it's esoteric, it's emotional, it's a water sign. So what does this mean to have Jupiter moving into such a deep, watery sign that's more about looking inwards? Jupiter is about looking outwards. Jupiter is about identifying oneself in relation to what's around me. Whereas, Scorpio and Pluto are about what's inside of me, what's hidden, what are my depths, which, and I think this is such a cool combination because you can tell it excites me. Because we are being prepared ultimately. And I mean, if you can't feel it, then I don't know where you are. You must be hiding under a rock somewhere. But we are being prepared. We're being prepared to receive greater blessings than we ever thought imaginable in a lot of ways. But how has this preparation got to happen? This preparation has got to happen by us getting honest with ourselves, by us having to face perhaps some uncomfortable truths about ourselves, wherever it is that Scorpio rules in our chart. And it's about transformation. It's about becoming intimate with ourselves. And what happens when you get such an expansive planet move into Scorpio? He enlarges that area of your life, and he enlarges things to do with those issues. So this can be, it can play out positively, it can play out negatively. All in all, it's always for the greater good. So I'm kind of a little bit sick of the words positive and negative, because in reality there is none. It's all the same thing. It's all momentum forward regardless. And sometimes what we deem as positive can actually turn out to be something that isn't that great for us in the long run, But anyway, that's by the by. So what can happen with Jupiter transiting Scorpio? Whichever house he touches is he will enlarge that area. That area will become a greater source of adventure and growth for you. There'll be more opportunity in that area of life for you to grow, for you to try different methods, for you to incorporate new tools, for you to learn more. At the same time, if there are any things that you have been denying to yourself, if there's anything you've been keeping hidden, that will expand too, to the point where you can't ignore it. Okay, so this will very much play out with issues to do with intimacy, issues to do with shared resources, even shared custody, issues to do with addictions, issues to do with codependency, abusive, self-abusive, abusive dynamics, to do with sex and taboo subjects. These, if you are on any level experiencing difficulty, or if you've been hiding from yourself to a certain extent, issues that you have in these areas, Jupiter, it will come, he's here now, Jupiter by nature will expand them and expand these issues to such a point where you will not be able to ignore them. And it may be that expansion happens through the relationship just getting so awful that you cannot stand it anymore, or other people seeing something that you were trying to hide, then so to the point where you have to face it, you can no longer deny it to yourself. Whatever it is, it will get expanded, and it may be painful, but ultimately what it's trying to do is it's trying to clear the way for blessings to come, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and when we think about Sagittarius is that archer with that bow and arrow, and he aims high. And Sagittarians are known for having high ideals and a broad perspective of life. They want to go far, they want freedom, they want to be able to bring their visionary ideas into reality. Now, we can't live on a personal level, we can't have, if we think about the big picture of the best life we want for ourselves and the best way we could be living, right? We can't attain that. We can't shoot that high. We can't live at that high level and function at that high level whilst we're denying certain aspects of ourselves that are holding us back. You can't expect to be the greatest version of yourself whilst also not looking at the shadow side of yourself that is holding you back, and what you do to trip yourself up, what you do to self-sabotage, okay? So we have to acknowledge these things. And when you think about it, technically Jupiter being in Scorpio is him residing in his 12th house, okay? Because his first house would be Sagittarius, and the 12th house is naturally ruled by Pisces, and the 12th house is very much about escapism and the things we don't want to see, the bad we don't want to see in others and in ourselves, self-sabotage. So you see where these themes are. Jupiter is asking us to basically be honest and face up to areas of our life in which we self-sabotage, or in which areas of our life that where something is just not functioning at a high enough level, and we know it, and it hasn't done for some time. This won't be a surprise to any of us. These will be matters that we have all known in the back of our minds. I really should do something about that. Those relationships aren't good for me. That habit, that behavior doesn't serve me. Those people don't lift me up and don't nourish me on an emotional level. We all know these things, but we, what as humans are like, we are inclined to bang our heads against brick walls until we are bloody and we've had enough. We go, okay, this is too painful, I can't do it anymore. So we'll all know, we'll all have an inkling, but now it will be magnified. So it's no longer a case of just having that little inkling and that call. The universe is going to smack us with it if we refuse to change and transform. And this is the thing, the biggest blessings with, one of the biggest blessings with Jupiter and Scorpio will come about through transformation. If you can surrender and embrace, and I would even say surrender isn't so much the term that I would give it, or I don't feel like it's the energy for it in this case. I would say if you can embrace and go after and pursue, because Jupiter is about pursuing. So if you can pursue transformation, if you can chase it, if you can attack it and make that your goal, whether it's to transform my body, to transform my mind, to transform my relationship with myself, my relationship with others, with money, with my community, with my career, whatever it is, that's this thing that's been holding you back, which is now being magnified, go after it with zest and with zeal. And this is where you are likely to get huge blessings. Luck will come through transformation. Luck will come through because, you know, Jupiter is the Benefic. He is known to be the luckiest sign in the zodiac. Luck will come through embracing that transformation and going with it, and having a sense of excitement about it. If you can come at it from a sense of adventure, and instead of fear, say to yourself, you know what? I don't know who I am without that hang up. I don't know who I am without that issue. How exciting, you know, how exciting is the idea of me finding out what kind of person I am without this issue. Oh my goodness, you know, how I might function at such a high level. I might be so much happier. If you come from it from a place of excitement and adventure and passion, then, you know, you're really working with this energy, in my opinion. This, you know, Jupiter in Scorpio as well is also going to increase our interest in matters of psychology, of self-empowerment. I mean, there's a lot of that going on already, but, you know, when you think about speakers like Tony Robbins and, you know, those kinds of speakers, we're going to be seeing a lot more of them. A lot more people are going to be turning on to them, because it's going to be about issues of self-empowerment, you know, and how can I empower myself in order to grow more and to do more in the world. You know, there's going to be more of an interest in teaching esoteric things, teaching things that are about what is hidden, what is under the covers, what is mystical, and what is deep, you know. And it's asking us, Jupiter here as well, you're just saying, you know, it's in a water sign at the end of the day, and the deepest water sign of all. So it's about, what are your desires? What do you truly want? How do you truly feel? And, you know, whereas last year, you know, Jupiter in Libra was a tricky one for a lot of us. There were a lot of really hard aspects being made to Jupiter, and relationships were, for a lot of us, a source of huge growth, but a lot of pain. And I mean, the amount of separations that happened last year are insane. I mean, you know, I've spoken to so many people and met so many people who said to me, yeah, I left my husband last year, just had enough, couldn't do it anymore, or I left my wife, you know, and sudden endings where it built up, and then it was done, you know. And so this is kind of continuing that theme of, you know, because Scorpio is about intimacy, real intimacy, relationships that are of convenience, relationships that don't have that quality of authentic intimacy just will not do. We will just not. It's almost like a lot of us will be unable to put ourselves through that and in that situation, which is for our highest benefit. It's a case of, I'd rather be alone than be in a relationship that feels loveless. I mean, I myself experienced this, you know, and that was the conclusion that I ended up coming to. You know, I thought I'd much rather be alone than be in a situation that just feels like it's lacking so much. You know, what's the point in this? I'd rather be intimate with myself than have false intimacy with somebody else, you know. And so this is what it's about. It's asking us to be true to ourselves and intimate with ourselves and bold. And it's not so polite. It's, you know, we are going to favor the people who are bold, who are courageous, who are magnetic, who take ownership of their own needs, wants, and values, not to the point where they destroy and harm others. But this isn't such polite energy. This is a little more, I want to say, like soul warrior. That's what I want to say. It's like soul warrior energy, and that's what we will favor during this time period. And I mean, personally, I absolutely love it, and it's working for me. I can see how it's playing out, and in my personal life it's already expanded some issues a few times, to the point where it's like we're only a few months in and I'm like, no, I've got the lesson now. I don't need to do that again. But this is what's going to happen. You know, whatever it is we've been ignoring, whatever it is we've been, that little like voice, that angel on our shoulder that we haven't been listening to, it's that angel is going to start to become a roaring monster and saying, hang on a minute, you're not going to get much further if you keep continuing this, whatever it is, fill in the blank, you know. And it's asking us to cleanse, to clear out the rubbish, because, you know, Scorpio loves to go deep, and it loves to transform. It loves to purify on an emotional level and to release. Okay, it's about releasing toxins and toxicity in whatever area of life that's about. And if you think about it, what better way to prepare for going into Jupiter entering Sagittarius, going back into his home sign, where he will be at his best, where he will be at his most expansive and happiest and optimistic and adventurous and abundant and fortunate. What better way to prepare? So this is about us preparing now by clearing the way. It's almost making yourself an empty vessel so that the blessings, there's space for the blessings to come in. And there's a saying that Oprah has that I absolutely love, and that is that luck, because he's known, you know, Jupiter's known as the luckiest planet in the zodiac. Luck is preparation meeting opportunity. This is what we're being asked to do now. We're being asked to prepare, because trust me, the opportunities will come once Jupiter moves into Sagittarius. And if you're not ready, it just means you didn't do the work at this moment. But I think a lot of us are doing the work, and it will be hard for us to ignore the signs, to ignore what needs to be changed, what needs to be let go of. This transit's also going to see, you know, a lot of, we're already seeing this actually, you know, we're seeing, because this is, you know, Scorpio rules sex and the taboo and power and misuse of power. So we're already seeing in Hollywood how people with positions of authority, Jupiter, have abused and misused their power, Scorpio, Pluto, and taken advantage, you know, of people in ways that are very damaging, you know, and often sexually, you know. So this is very much, it's about truth coming out. Jupiter, I mean, Scorpio is what is hidden. Jupiter is a seeker of truth. Jupiter expands. So you can see how this dynamic is happening, where hidden truths, Scorpio, are being brought to light and expanded for the whole world to see. And this is what I mean. These people who were the perpetrators, these people who were these abusers, can no longer hide this abuse. You know, it's coming to light for all the world to see. They're being asked to be, well, they're being asked to transform, to regenerate, to look at what it is they've done. You know, so we all are on a certain level. But this is, you see where the theme, how this theme is playing out on the larger scale. Issues of sex, issues of intimacy, taboo things are going to, they're going to expand in a sense, and this could see people becoming adventurous in things to do with intimate relationships, in things to do with sex. Now, this can play out obviously in a negative way, but I'm looking at this from a positive way, where actually, because Jupiter is the higher mind, okay? It's the higher mind, and it's higher learning and it's wisdom, okay, and it's kind of spiritual knowledge. So I can see this playing out as in more people adopting a more spiritual perspective of sex and more spiritual practices when it comes to sex, whether that be tantra, or whether that be, I mean, I don't know, I'm not completely versed in all of these kinds of things, but whether that be exploring tantra, whether that be exploring things like what is that ancient Egyptian I'm trying to think what it is. There's an ancient Egyptian sexual practice where you don't actually get to the orgasm. It's very similar to Tantra in some ways, but it's about regenerating the energy through your body, and it's thought the ancient Egyptians did this, and it was a way of using sex not only as a way to be intimate with your partner, but also as a way to increase your life force energy. So I wouldn't be surprised if people start looking at sex not just as this kind of act, physical act, but actually in a deeper way that incorporates spirituality, incorporates higher meaning, because it is a beautiful spiritual, it's the most powerful act. The orgasm is, it's a moment of oneness with the universe, with God, which is why it feels so amazing. So I think we could see this on a positive level and on a positive scale, and it'd be a nice way to use that energy, you know, if you are with a partner. I would guard against casual sex at this time, because the thing is, both Pluto and Scorpio, both Jupiter and Pluto are planets that aren't known for self-discipline. They're both very much about excess. So I will speak about this a bit more in a second. But what I want to say is I would guard against sexual promiscuity and casual sex at this moment and for this time period, because from what I'm seeing, there are a few other aspects that suggest this as well. We could see increases in STIs, we could see new STIs emerge, and not just that. I think where we are, this point in our evolution, and with Jupiter wanting us to get deep and be intimate, casual, meaningless sex with multiple people for no other reason than for pleasure's sake and for the carnal kind of conquest, kind of runs contrary to what this transit is actually about. I'm just going to check that my camera's still recording, because sometimes he cuts out. Okay, brilliant. So that's one thing that I'd be careful about. What I did want to say is that there is this, and this is where some of us might trip ourselves up. There is the possibility, there's an inclination to want to go too far, basically. Because, Pluto's known for going too far and kind of not knowing when to say no and not knowing when to stop it, as is Jupiter. They're very expansive. They're like, these are planets that sometimes they don't know the words no, So this might be where our lessons lie, in that by going too far, in whatever area it is, by going too far, we suddenly go, oh God, all right, I made a mess of that, I made a pig's ear of that, that didn't need to happen, I should have stopped when, I could have stopped when. And that might be where the lessons lie for some of us, however it relates to you. This is obviously going to have a huge effect on those fixed signs out there, this transit, but this is going to have a big effect on all of us. One thing that I wanted to just finish off by saying is that it's really worth you looking at what was going on in your life 12 to 13 years ago. Okay, the last time Jupiter was in Scorpio, because he's moving back into his sign at the end of this year, which means that there is a cycle that's being completed. So whatever it is that you're being asked to transform, let go of, heal, because a lot of it is about healing, I've got to say that. This is healing so that the higher wisdom, so that our higher wisdom, our higher self can come through. This is letting go of things, transmuting, transforming, so that the highest, biggest Jupiterian version of ourselves, most expansive, benefic version of ourselves can come through. Okay, this is making room for that beautiful golden light within ourselves. But so what I'd like you to do is think about what's been going on for you, what's maybe started 12 to 13 years ago, and I'll give you a personal example. Okay, so 12 years ago, when Jupiter was in Scorpio, I lost my father. And on that, when I look at the astrology of that day, actually, there was a lot going on, and You know, you can't predict death per se, you know, in a chart. But when I looked at my chart, that, I mean, it was, everything was lit up to say huge emotional transformation, and your life's not going to be the same for a while or again, okay? And this has been building up for a little while. Now, I lost my father 12 years ago. Now, in some ways, Jupiter is quite a father-like planet. He's known as the, what's he known as? I want to say the Shining Father. I'm sure that his Latin name translates as the Shining Father. But there is a fatherly quality about Jupiter. There's wisdom, okay? There's protection that comes with Jupiter. And so it's interesting, you know, this was what started for me. So I lost my father 12 years ago, and I for the past 12 years have been going through this process, and now I see it. And I'm getting all the lessons. I'm understanding it so deeply now that I'm, you know, coming to the end of the cycle. But I spent the last 12 years very much playing out my relationship with my father, my unresolved issues with him, through my romantic relationships, by either drawing people in who were like him, projecting onto people who weren't like him, all sorts of things, you know, as we tend to do. But I had so much unresolved stuff, and part of my growth, part of my journey, part of why I'm able to do what I do with you guys and for you guys is because of my relationship with my father. So for me, it's a huge blessing. I would never change it for the world. But I had to spend 12 years literally unraveling, playing out, and unconsciously sometimes, very unconsciously, exploring the issues around my father. And I was only able to do that after his passing, because whilst he was alive, it was almost like it was too close. He was too close for me to be able to do that, and there would never have been that resolution, because he was not one for saying sorry or acknowledging his own faults or weaknesses or humanness even. So there was never going to be a closure while he was alive. And so it took me 12 years, which might seem like a ridiculous long time, but some people, you know, they never get there. And so for me, you know, this really has been about, and during that process, let me just say, I wasn't self-parenting, okay? For a long time, I wasn't self-parenting, and I was going to excess. And rather than, you know, if we are balanced, we're able to self-parent, we're able to nurture ourselves, which is a motherly, more feminine instinct, and we're also able to protect ourselves and set boundaries, which is the more masculine, fatherly instinct. Now, my ability to set boundaries and to protect myself and not put myself in dangerous situations and things like that was completely gone. And so I had kind of, the whole theme of father, what a father is and father roles and all these kinds of things was just, it was all everywhere. And I was, like I said, I was exploring it. And a lot of the time very subconsciously. And it's only been literally, and I kid you not, since Jupiter has moved into Scorpio, where I've suddenly gone, oh my goodness. And suddenly I'm setting firm boundaries, and it's like all of those 11 years are suddenly all coming into one moment where I'm going, I feel like I'm healed, and I'm finally able to be the father to myself that I never had, and that I've been searching for in others, and that I've been searching for in the world. I'm finally able to be that father to myself. I'm finally able to protect myself, to set boundaries for myself, to discipline myself in ways that are good for me. You know, I'm no longer just everywhere, which can happen. You know, I feel like I was the negative side of Jupiter. I was everywhere, trying everything, you know, very adventurous, not grounded at all, you know, too many things going on, you know, everyone's friend type thing. And don't get me wrong, you know, there were beautiful qualities in that, and it's part of my journey. I wouldn't change it for the world. But it's only been since Jupiter's moved into Scorpio for me that it's suddenly all of that healing has, it's just kind of, it just all went like that. And so that's what's happened for me. You know, I finally found that father figure within myself that I've been looking for. So for you, look at what happened or may have started 12 to 13 years ago. And what it is you've been on a process of healing. I hope that me sharing that with you has helped you kind of understand how it can play out. It's crazy, you know, and only you will really know what what it is you have to let go of, or have to open yourself up to receiving, what it is that you've been wrestling with for the past however many years. Only you will know. But when you identify it, it will catch you and it will sit right with you, and it will be a real aha moment. I know for me, I gave up my higher qualities of Jupiter over the last 12 years and embraced my Plutonic qualities, which were very much about codependency, excess, partying, too much, you know, and power, and giving away of power, and all these kinds of things. So it's almost like I had to transcend the lower aspects of Jupiter whilst embracing Pluto, to then transform and embrace the higher aspects of Jupiter, and transform through Pluto when Jupiter entered Scorpio. And this has been a process that's been happening for, you know, definitely, well, like I said, the last 12 years, but it's only been the last couple of years that I've started to see it actually solidify and the healing really start to kick in, because it's become so much more conscious. And now I can honestly say that it's something that it feels like it's embedded. So anyway, at risk of going on about myself too much, sometimes I wonder if I overshare, but I think it's important that we're open with each other and honest with each other, so that we have an understanding of how these things operate in our lives. So all in all, I think it's a wonderful transit, and it's preparation. It's wonderful and amazing preparation, should we choose to receive it. So God bless you all. I love you all. Thank you so much for your wonderful supports and your comments and your subscribes. I'm getting so much support from you guys, and it means the world to me, because this is what I love to do. And I believe that through us being empowered on an individual level and loving ourselves and self-parenting and going after our dreams, the world will transform into a more beautiful and peaceful place. And so that's why I do what I do. I wouldn't want to do anything else. Much love to all of you. Take care. Bye-bye.